Welcome to the Bi-Geekly Report, your bi-weekly take on queer representation in geek pop culture. I'm your host, Elle Sanchez. This episode, we're talking about one of the most highly anticipated films of this past holiday season that came out in December. It has really polarized geeks everywhere. We're, of course, talking about Star Wars, The Last Jedi, also known as Episode 8. I don't really like to count those because the prequels don't count to me. Even if that's a hack stance to have, I don't even care. The prequels don't count. But we're talking about Star Wars, The Last Jedi. This film has had such a weird range of reactions. Not just weird, but just very intense. Like, some people love it, some people hate it, and that's how all good films are, obviously. But it's surprising how many Star Wars fans legitimately hate this movie. Like, there's a petition, an online petition to have this movie removed from the Star Wars canon, which is a lot. Which is a lot. I don't know. I don't get it. But there are a lot of people who are really, really upset. I've watched a lot of movie reviews about this. I'm sure if you're a big Star Wars fan, you have too. So I'm going to spare you my review of this film because you've already got your own opinions or you've read or watched a lot of reviews of it. I'll tell you, I liked it. I mean, it's a Star Wars movie and it's a good movie. I liked it. You know, am I going to watch it again? Probably not. But sometimes some of the best movies you don't need to see more than the one time. So, like I said, it's good. But that's not what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about, obviously, other elements of this film related to queer stuff and gender identity and gender presentation. We're going to get into it, you know, in a gay way. Since the most important element of the Bi-Geekly Report is obviously queer representation, let's talk first about some of the queer elements of this movie. If there are any of the kind of queer representation we have in this movie. So, because of Force Awakens, there was sort of a lot of shipping happening by fans between the characters of Finn and Poe. That wasn't necessarily all fans kind of deciding these two were romantic or sexual or beyond friends. It also, J.J. Abrams hinted with that film that after that film came out and people thought that there was a queer couple, although he didn't name names. But some of the actors have also, specifically the actors that play those two characters, have kind of implied that perhaps these characters have a romantic link with each other. So, and there is a very clear, to me anyway, when you watch The Force Awakens, I felt a very intense sexual sort of tension between these two. And maybe I imagined it. In this film, in Last Jedi, I felt like we were lacking a little bit of that, which was kind of sad. I mean, there were a couple moments that I still feel like this romance is possible. I was a little sad that we didn't see as much as a queer representation as I kind of hoped for that was sort of implied in the first one, and I hoped this one would be a little more queer, but unfortunately it wasn't really. But it's still there. I still have hope. Lastly, what we're going to talk about in this episode is kind of the gendered elements of this film. Well, just the gender kind of such things going on. Specifically, we're talking about, there's a lot of really good articles you can find online about how this film destroys the idea, it specifically attacks toxic masculinity. Those articles are probably going to be more well-written than what's going to come out of my mouth. So look those up if you want something that's academic and researched and well thought out. But just from my own opinion, I can tell you, yes, this movie 100% completely attacks the ideas, many ideas of toxic masculinity. Let's get into it. One, there are a lot of female characters in this movie, which is great. Even more so than the last film, we have a lot of very important major characters who are women. And a lot of women who are in authority, positions of authority, which is great. And a mix of also villains and heroes that are women. And it's awesome. So we've got, obviously, General Leia is still there. And then we have Vice Admiral Holdo, who's played by Laura Dern. And then we also have Rose, the character Rose, who I can't remember the actress's play, but not only is a woman, but is a person of color. And she's a main character. And we have her sister, who's just the beginning, but who sacrifices herself for the cause of the rebellion. And that's a beautiful scene that I fucking bawled at, like most people probably did. And we have also Rey still, one of our main characters, who's a great character played by Daisy Ridley. And there's probably more. There's so many great female characters. Oh God, that's right. Obviously, Carrie Fisher's daughter is in this film. She plays one of the people that is on the main ship that works for General Organa. And her real life daughter, who I think same as Billy Lord, maybe Billy, definitely. She's in the film, and she has Leia's trademark buns in her hair. Oh, it's so sweet. It's very sweet. It's got such a good vibe and such great kind of like feminine energy happening. And I love that with all the female characters. But beyond all the female characters being represented, the other great thing is that a lot of these characters kind of attack the ideas of like stereotypical ideas of masculinity. What has been celebrated in Star Wars films of the past, and not just Star Wars movies, a lot of action movies in general or fantasy films, is the idea of the impulsive hero who is almost always a guy, and it's always like a cis guy. It's almost always a straight cis guy because the thing he wins at the end is always a woman because they're property or whatever. And, he saves the day with his like not really quick thinking, basically just his brute strength or him deciding, fuck it, let's just blow it up. Let's just go in guns blazing. And Star Wars has been a franchise that has also, like most, kind of celebrated that idea a little bit. But in this film, that is shit all over. I love it. Because Poe's character is the impulsive pilot that's like, this woman doesn't know what she's doing. I know what we're doing. We need to go in there and just burn it all down or whatever. And then when Leia is actually kind of out of commission for a while. So then Laura Dern's character, Holdo, comes in, who... initially, Poe decides he does not trust based on bullshit, based on patriarchal bullshit. He even initially says, oh, that's Vice Admiral Holdo? That's not what I expected. And I'm thinking, is this movie really doing that scene where the guy's like, oh, he wanted to say, it's a lady. And of course, we're supposed to think this woman doesn't know what she's doing. One, because she's a woman, and she's also presents very feminine. She's wearing this gorgeous lavender dress, and she in no way is dressed like other members of the rebellion. Like the Rose character is, I guess you can say, tomboyish in presentation, but she's, kind of mask in presentation and a little like butch. And this character is very, very feminine. And we're kind of led to believe that maybe she doesn't know what she's doing through the film when she kind of is, expecting everyone to just hang back. She has a plan, and Poe's like, no, we need to go in there and like destroy that other ship and blah, blah, blah. And in the end, she's right. She knows exactly what's going on. And Poe is an idiot. And what he planned almost got everyone killed when he realizes that she was right. It's too late because, Leia wakes up from her coma and fucking shoots him. Rightfully so. When he's like, oh, you're here to save the day. And she's like, yeah, exactly. She doesn't say that, but she like knocks him out with a laser gun because in space you still have those. Then Leia tells Poe when they're on the ship, when they're getting away, that Holdo didn't care about being a hero. She cared more about protecting the light. And then he realizes he's an asshole. And this whole time he decided she didn't know what she was doing, obviously based on his misogynistic bullshit. So that is sad. But in the end, she's proven to be the wise admiral that we all knew she was. And she also commits this great act of sacrifice at the end when she uses light speed to cut through the First Order's ship and destroy it, while she's the only one left on the other ship and sacrifices herself. It's an intense scene, which is also shown in a little bit of slow motion and with no sound. So it's amazing. But also, of course, my partner and I went to go see this movie together. So of course he leans over and he's like, oh, that's not how light speed works. this. And I'm like, it's not a real technology. It can work any fucking way they want. It's a fantasy. Ugh. That's why, you know, Star Wars nerds, I get it. I like Star Wars too. I like the Bible and I like space. And so I get it. Those things come together and there are all these characters and it's great. And I love it. And it's lots of fun. But like, chill out. It's also made up. So it doesn't have to go one way or another. But either way, I loved how much this movie tore down the idea of toxic masculinity and specifically mansplaining. That was a huge part of it. That Holdo was like, fuck you to Poe and his bullshit mansplaining. And I loved that. And I also loved in the end that they proved that, like, regardless of your presentation, whether you're, you know, a very feminine woman, that doesn't change that you're still a hero. So you don't have to be the, I don't know why I was thinking of Lara Croft, but you don't have to be necessarily butch or tomboyish, or like, you can be like high femme, and still be a hero. And that's awesome. So that's sort of my queer take on The Last Jedi. I enjoyed it. What did you think? I know a lot of people have varying opinions. Share them with me in the comments. Also, can we just talk about really quick how great it was when Rey told Kylo Ren, when they were telepathically communicating and he was shirtless, she was like, is there something you can put on? That was like the greatest scene, because if some of us can't show our nipples, none of us should be able to show our nipples. That's how I feel. Or all of us should be able to show our nipples. So when he just turned around real stark white with no top on, she was like, put on a top. And I like it. I like it. Anyway, be sure, speaking of like, if you like this video, be sure to like it and share and subscribe and let me know, I'm sure you will, everything I got wrong in the comments if you want to. Because like I said, I don't know that much. But hey, if you want to educate me on Star Wars, go ahead. Maybe I'll read it. Thank you for watching the Bi-Geekly Report on Jet Space Magazine. I've been Elle Sanchez. May the Force be with you.